Hey guys, welcome back to releasethecraftin. Priscilla here with another hashtag Twinchie Tuesdays, where I make some Twinchies on a Tuesday. And you guys, this is hosted by Sassy Southern NC girl, this Jen. Yeah, thanks for this cool challenge, Jen, because I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I'm also having a lot of fun using up my stickers. So I decided to only make 2 this time. Mostly because I was just short on time, but also because I didn't want to use the rest of the stickers on the sheet. So I only wanted to use a couple, so I did. But I thought this would be fun to sort of explore making the background sort of match the foreground a little bit, bringing some of the elements from the sticker into the background. So the sticker is very leafy and green. So I thought I would add some leaves to the background. I thought for this video I would talk about my creative process and not something absolutely crazy like I have been doing these voiceovers. Because yeah, I've been doing all sorts of stuff. After inking up the background, I have to make sure that they really dry because I want to go over this and emboss it. And Distress Oxide tends to stay wet for a lot longer than even Distress ink does. So that's just something to keep in mind, especially if you know that you're going to be doing embossing down the path. Is to just make sure that all your mediums and stuff are dry before you continue, because you're going to be very upset when they're not. And I will say Distress Oxide is pretty sneaky for that because, yeah, some of it was still wet. Even after heat drying it for what felt like 7 years. But it was probably only like a minute. So then I decided to come back through, add some of these like cool little swirls to add a little like effect to the background. And make it seem a little bit more fancy, because these houses are pretty fancy. They're pretty fancy houses. Although honestly, I would love to live in houses like these, where they're all like overgrown and covered in like all sorts of creeping vines and leaves that just sort of spill over the sides and over the windows and stuff. They're just really cool to me. So I decided to go over this with some green. I don't remember if this is the green pearl or if this is the green glaze. No, I see the silver lid. It's embossing glaze. So I'm going to think it's the rustic wilderness one. So I go over those, and then as you can see, I had to wipe some off because it was still wet, despite me drying it already. So I was going for like a tone-on-tone thing here. The background is brown, but it's also green. So add some more green, layers of green to add like, I don't know, like an element of verdant vibrancy to the little piece, and to sort of tie everything in and bring the foreground to the background to the foreground, to sort of make all those layers sort of come together so it looks like one piece instead of a bunch of different things like just sort of stuck together. And then I don't know what I did. Oh, I went and did more embossing. Of course I did. I feel like that's just become my go-to. But I love embossing so much, you guys. But yeah, I find that I am always pulling out the embossing powder for these, and I'm like, you gotta find something else to do with your life. So this time I pulled out a stencil, and I still ended up embossing. But then I was like, I kind of want to like get like a golden afternoon, like, you know, having a tea outside in your garden, something a little bit fancier, a little bit classier. To bring in some of that sunshine element without actually doing sunshine. So that's where I ended up with this gold. And then I wanted to make it a little rusticy looking, a little rough, because like the house is all overgrown in plants and stuff. So like the leaves should be like, not the leaves, the gold should also be like rough and overgrown and a little bit out of control, in line with like the nature in the garden. So I was being really mindful when making this one. I want to be really intentional with creative choices that I make, so that even though it seems like I'm just sort of picking up a bunch of random things and putting them together, it doesn't look like I'm putting a bunch of random things together. That's the goal with this kind of stuff, is to be like, how can I make these discordant pieces become one cohesive whole? So that's kind of like why I guess I'm being extra verbose during this sort of breakdown of my process and telling you sort of the vibe that I'm going for here. So you can see that like I put a lot of intention into what I'm making, because it's like a pet peeve of mine to have stuff that's on there just for the sake of it being on there, and not really telling the story that you're trying to get across. So yeah, so of course, as you know, I feel like words make the man, or the Twinchie in this case, and I needed to add some words to it. So I looked for some like home theme words, things that sort of vibed with like the nostalgia of coming home and stuff like that. And here we ended up with one that says Far From Home, thinking of earlier days. Another one says Loving Heart, A Beautiful Home. And that's going to be it for me, guys, for this week's Twinchie Tuesday. Come back and see what other videos I put up on this channel. And can come back next week and see what we do for the next Twinchie Tuesday. Until then, guys, happy crafting. I appreciate your faces, and goodbye.